Hello, welcome back everybody. It's been a few days since our last clip that we recorded. I'm having to do a voiceover on this time because for some reason we had audio issues again with it not recording the first time for some reason. I think what I was saying is I went to a company online and gave them my measurements of what of the bushing that I had. They come back with two suggested products. They were both. One was in a similar sort of metal to what I had before, and the other one was in brass. Unfortunately, the measurements they gave me for these products was imperial, not metric. So I actually converted back the imperial measurements back to metric, and they seemed the right one. So I thought, well, maybe the whole system, it's GM. It could well be that it's metric measurements. So I ordered one of those products. So they weren't very expensive. They're only about £4. An annoying noisy train there. So yeah, and just found out that it was completely the wrong size. So in the end, what I did was I asked a friend that's got a lathe to actually make one out of brass for me. So yeah, hopefully that will bring us up to speed now. Okay, so here's the setup, guys. So I've got a 5/8 spanner because that's the size of that apparently. And then the other end is a 16mm. So got that on a bit of an extension. Got that on there now, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just tighten that in right now. If I get my big hands out of the way, so you can see that this is actually going in nice and easy. The good way of doing it this way rather than, and I will demonstrate the way of doing it with the socket, because you might not have a bolt that fits, or you know, there could be a whole load of different reasons why you're not able to use this method. But the reason why we opted for this way is because certainly to start it off with, this is going to actually pull it in nice and straight. If we'd used or if we pressed it in with the vise here, there is every chance that we won't get it in straight, not to begin with anyway. You know, it could be slightly skew with, and we'll potentially do some damage on putting it in there. There we go. Right, so look at that. Of course, I've got loads of rubbish on my toolbox there. I use this as an example. In actual fact, it's about the right size. So yeah, let me just take that out of there. So as I was saying before, if you've got something that you're able to push it in with, like for example in my case I've got this vise here, you could get that flat in there, get your socket on there, close that up. Now you can see how difficult it is to get this nice and dead flat, and that's with the bushing already in most of the way. So we're just going to start winding that in now, make sure that's nice and flat, and then we're just going to gently turn the handle, and as you can see, feel that going in. I actually don't like this as much as I did that, because this, you're putting quite a bit of force, it feels like, on there. You know, just to push that in, that last bit. So that's nice and flush now, and we're going to see how that feels with putting the innards back in. Cool. Right, Yeah, so we're about ready to put everything back together now. I've just got to try and remember how and what order everything went in. Yeah, I can't remember. That's good. I wonder if it was the way it come out, because these are back. I've put everything in order, haven't I? Yeah. Okay. So let's redo that bit.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Right. So we're ready to put everything back together now. Now, if I remember rightly, I'll put everything kind of in order as the way it come out. So what we're going to start off doing is, these are the first things that come out. So we're going to pick those up. That's so what we got here. We got a washer, a thin washer onto a fibre washer, and then we've got two other washers there. I'm probably going to assume these are actually shims for when it all first went together at the factory. So it's highly likely this will never work again. Right. Okay, so I'll just give them a little bit of a clean up. I am going to re-oil them as we go through and get everything back together. And also I'm going to use is just standard engine oil, because that's, after all, that's kind of what it baths in anyway. So, okay. So, got some engine oil in this can here. Not been used for a little while. There we go. Spread that around a little bit. Drop a few while we're at it. It's always good. Just give that another wipe off, because the last thing we want is any grit, anything in there. That's good. Okay. Now, touch more oil. I'm going to put that on the shaft on the end here. In actual fact, you can kind of see where that's been sitting anyway, on the shaft there. So I'll tell you what, let's pull that back off again just for a second. Right, I just feel a bit better with a touch of oil on there. I don't want to go too mad with this. Right, just enough to kind of keep it all nicely lubricated up. Okay, so now we're ready to fit that back in. We're going to try and keep the wires on top. And as for these screw holes, which I'm going to try and get them in around the right sort of place, so move that around to there. We might have to adjust this later on or something. Okay, so that's almost ready to go back in now, so we'll try and push that back in there. Whilst at the same time trying to wrestle everything back in. Just trying to be careful here, because you've got that catching on the lip there. So I've just got to try and be careful how we bring this through. Right, there we go, that's starting to come through there. So before that goes all the way, guessed it, more oil. As I say, this is just ordinary car engine oil that I'm using here. So just slowly bring that through. Okay, not far off of being there now. So I'm just trying to turn it a little bit and try and get this wire back through here. There we go, I've successfully done that. Right, so now we've just got to try and line up these couple of screw holes one's already lined up there, but that's not actually in the right place, I don't believe. So this is being rather difficult. Probably be best to use a screwdriver. Bear with me. Okay, screwdriver obtained. So what I'm just going to try and do is actually push this around if I can. Sorry.
Sorry, you got to look as well.
Yeah. Now, for some reason, this is being rather difficult to move. Bigger screwdriver needed. There we go, got a bit of movement there. More there, and we're almost lined up on that screw hole there, so we'll try and do it from this side, make sure we're not catching the Hall effect sensor there. Did you see that? Way too much, way too far, just went all of a sudden. There we go, so we managed to move that back into place now. Just have a look, make sure that seems about right. So I'm just making sure that the screw holes line up as well as any other holes, and that looks about right to me. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll get those screws back in. Sorry, one goes there next to that clip there. This one here is actually going to be for the vacuum advanced, and this one will go back here. I'm only going to, whoops, oh, maybe not, it goes there, ignore what I just said. So that goes back there. Right, I'm not going to do them up completely for the time being. I'm just going to get everything back together and then we can go around that in a little while. Okay, so let's give this this a little bit of support here. If I can remember which way that went round, that went that way. So pop. The other thing we'll have to try and remember is make sure that we have actually got that the right way round. Now, we've got a positive and negative on there. We've got a black and red on the cabling there. So I mean it's keyed anyway, so it looks like you can't get this on the wrong way. So yeah, that slips on nice and easily. If I try and put it on the other way, that's not going to happen. So that just simply pushes in there. That pushes on, and then that holds there, and then we've got this little clip that goes in there and pushes up against it. Apologies.
Hard to do when
it's hard to do when you've got a camera in your face. So try and share this as best we can. Have you got that?
Yeah.
At this point, ladies and gentlemen, I can't see anything. So I'm just going to sneak a look myself. That doesn't feel right. There we go. That's got on a bit straight. It's just a bit difficult to get it started. Right, and there we go. That's pushed all the way in now. And that's actually tighter than what it was before. Okay,
Brilliant.
Now ready to put this spring clip thing back in. I've just got the other distributor off the car just to get an idea of roughly where it is. I don't think it's too critical exactly where this lands, because it is after all only holding that back plate on. So this, if you can remember, we had to, of course you can remember, this is the same video for you guys. Remember, for us, this is literally 2 weeks later. So this is like a spring clip that's going to sit in that groove just in there. So I'm just going to, this is quite easy to actually compress in. So I'm just using my thumbs, putting pressure on either side and kind of rolling it around like that. That's now sat in the groove and is flush with the rest of the housing. So all I'm just simply going to do is a little bit at a time, just push that in there, and then in a minute we'll hear a nice satisfying click, hopefully. No, it's actually sitting on that ridge there. Okay, so in that case what we'll do, we'll get a screwdriver and we'll just try and persuade that. So just lift that up. So I've managed to get behind it, so I'm just going to lever it up a little bit, and there we go. And all I've done was put some downward pressure on that just to get it over that lip. Once you've started that, the rest of it should hopefully follow round and go way too far. Well, maybe it was easier to do this in the first place. There we go. So scrub all of that, guys. Just, I've got a bit of a scratch there. So I've got to put one part into the groove already, and then the rest of it, this is actually much easier. I'm just going to push in. It should follow round, hopefully. As you can see, it's coming out that groove there a little bit, so we're just going to pry up a little bit, just so as it gets back into that groove. There we go, and that's clipped in. We've still got that little bit just here to push in. And I'm going to do, as I've done before, is just lever that out a little bit, which is not actually that difficult. There we go, that is now back in. So if we now compare that with the other one we've got here, I want to try and get this roughly in the right place. As you can see, it's not too far off as it is. Probably could do with going round a little bit. So if we look at where this screw is, that is, oh, that's way off actually. Yeah, if you look at where that screw hole is, that's just proud on top of that clip there. And that's not the case on this one. We're too far round, so we're going to try and bring that round, which is not going to be, yeah, that's not going to be very possible with the use of your fingers anyway. So we're going to try and see if we can push that round. There we go. So the trick here, use a screwdriver in there, and I'm actually using a twisting motion here. And that way you're not actually leaning up against this or anything. It's just leaning against itself, and the torque of the screwdriver will bring that round. And as you can see, that's bringing that round in a nice controlled manner. So yeah, a bit more to go. I'll say that's about there. So if we now get this, oh, these screws, if you remember, are captive. So we'll try and put that back on. That sits there. So I don't think this is all that critical where this needs to go. That looks about right. It's actually, this one's probably could do with going round back the other way just a little bit more, I'll say. Yeah, so it's easier to turn one way than the other. I'll bring that all the way around. Just put a drop of oil in there. And of course, in my typical fashion, put way too much in. Yeah, so there we go. That's making it slip a little bit more easier. Right, so let's get that about. It's about there, I think. See if I can go back the other way this time. Yeah. Yeah, so probably about there. Yeah, that looks pretty similar. Okay. Just tighten that up. Okay, that's that in. So hopefully we could call this side of things done. So now it's just these parts here. So we've got those two washers there that I'm going to give a clean. As we did before, and give it a drop of oil. Maybe even drop it on the floor a couple of times for good measure. Drop of oil there. I'm trying to remember which side this went on. Which I think went that side if I remember rightly. Wrong one. I've got a bit of crap in there. There we go. Put the fibre washer down. And then we can put this back in. So yeah, don't do what I do and forget where everything goes. Take lots of pictures or even use video. So we'll try and get these now back into the right sort of position. I've got the notch pointing upwards on there. Just probably about 11 o'clock away from the connector at the top there. So put that one down, and then that means that this one's going to sit also at almost a 12 o'clock position. But what's going to be more important for this is if we turn these together, push that back on, that roll pin needs to go through that hole, and that's what holds everything together. So sorry. So we're just going to get that roughly lined up, and then we're going to start bringing this clip back in. Okay, so we've got that mounted up into the vise now, so we can actually hit this down and get that pin back in. I'm going to use this punch here. It's got a nice flat end to it. So we don't want to use the one like we did before, because that can get inside there and actually splay it out, which is undesirable. So just going to get that close to the edge there. I'm just going to start gently knocking that back in. This should go in fairly easily if you've got it nicely centered. Just a couple more hits, get it level. I think we're about there. So yeah, it's sticking out just a little bit. It's a little bit proud just there. On the other side, it's exactly there. Okay. So what's left to do now is we need to get that clip back on, which is part of this, the vacuum advanced. So now we need to try and hook that in the right place. Now, if I remember rightly, there it is, just there. So there's the little nubbing just in there. You might not be able to see that in the right light. And if I get a pointer, that's what we're trying to slip it over, just in there. There, yeah, you got that there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's what we're trying to slip that over. So I'm going to pull it in and just basically try and guess where it is. It's a bit like fishing this. Try and get that to hook on there. Right,
Okay.
finally I got it. So yeah, that was pretty bad fishing on my part, but you can tell that that's on there because we're able to move the Hall effect sensor around a bit. I'm going to get that screwed in place before I drop it or it comes off for whatever reason. So screw on the top there. There we go, finally got that. We can breathe again. Okay, so now on the bottom one is our clip. Try and remember how that goes. Bring that towards the back. And this must go underneath. Okay. There we go, that's that back in. Right, so move that to one side, get that tightened up. And straighten. These don't have to be massively tight anyway. That one we never touched. Tighten that one up. I'll just go around tightening everything up now. Double check everything. We're soon ready to put this on the car and give it a test. See if it still works. Right, welcome back. So the car's warmed up now. I've got my timing light here to just check it. That distributor went on very well. Unfortunately, we yet again had audio issues. So we've changed to another phone now because we think it's might be the phone that we're using, hopefully. Yeah, it's actually running quite well. I mean, I've obviously took that distributor on and off way too many times. If you come round here, we can see that. Whoops, sorry. We can see that the car's now fully warmed up. Get my timing light here set up. There we go. Try and not get it. I might just rest it there because previously I've kind of burnt it a little bit. Oops. I do these things so you don't have to. Okay, so let's just check it. I'll make sure that's set to 0. We're a little bit advanced there. There we go. It's about spot on there, I think. That's actually sounding really good. Sounds about spot on. Quite happy with that. So there isn't really much more to say other than that's how I've rebuilt my distributor. Probably not the most recommended thing to do, but as I said before, it's something I like to do, tinker around with things, get things working or working better. Very happy with this. I'm looking forward to getting this MOT'd. I think it's just coming up to running out, but I don't use it through the winter months anyway, so it's not taxed. I'll get this MOT'd again. I look forward to actually driving it and seeing if I've gained any power back. Not that it was a particularly slow car to begin with. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe before you go, and I'll see you back in a future video. Thanks for watching.